Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Grindstone Developments Truck Series, live tonight from the high banks of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Qualifying is complete. Drivers getting ready to go, so let's get right into your starting grid here tonight. Randy Richards takes the pole. On his outside, it'll be Craig Janczak, two-time winner so far this season, actually three, looking for number 4 here tonight. James Harris back to third spot. It'll be Bryce Rayner in fourth. George Young, Andrew Hale back in row 3, Brandon Ball, and Toby Ritters, row 4. Wesley Carter, Brad Thacker round out your top 10. It'll be Caleb Forsyth in 11th with Kevin Ward in 12th. Back to the 13th spot starting here tonight. It's going to be Jason Ethery, Kevin Kirchar 14th, John Legger, Tyler Meeks back in 15th and 16th. Brian High, William Mann, row 9, Jason Taylor, Wesley Shaw, row 10, with Michael Hill, Eli Childs in row 11, Blake Tidwell, and Brian Toole back in row 24. And rounding out your field here tonight. Pace car is off. We're ready to go. And from Atlanta Motor Speedway, we are under green. As the field rockets across the start-finish line for the first time here tonight, it's the 53 of Randy Richard up front leading the charge. The 55 of James Harris just behind him at the moment. And man, it already feels like the pace of what we're seeing here tonight is even more than what we saw to start the race at Daytona last week. But right now, Craig Janczak after the photo finish, but second place result for him last week. Boy, you know he wants a little more here tonight. He's going to have some help with a fellow Team Conti truck behind him. That's the 99 machine of Bryce Rayner. These two going to be a dangerous combo at really any super speedway track. You go to trouble out back. One truck hard into the outside wall. Two more going to slide. And that's the 13 of Brian High with heavy damage. The 64 Wesley Carter's also involved. And we have our first caution of the night with just 3 laps in the books. And they're going to all gather it back up and at least be able to limp back to the pits. But man, for Caleb Forsyth, the first truck we saw get into the wall, that is not at all the way that he wanted to start his night. We kind of expected to see this sort of aggression. But man, just not the way you expect things to go this early. You kind of feel like everybody's trying to get into the rhythm and, you know, everybody's leaving gaps for each other, a little bit more space than you would at the end of the race, but it's not looking like it here. Let's see how these two get tangled up. It's going to start again with the 776 of Caleb Forsyth and the 35 of Blake Tidwell, who's running a bit of a throwback scheme here tonight. And we'll go first here, see if we can get you a good angle of this. Watch from probably the chopper view here. Yeah, here we go. Watch from the aerial shot. And as they're coming through the quad oval, the 35 Tidwell's got just a little bit of a run. Not sure if that's a stack up in front of the 776 that gets him slowed down, or if Tidwell just doesn't realize how big of a run he's got. But he's going to tag the 776. And a little bit of a vulnerable spot right there just before they get into turn 1. Gets him sideways, and then it's on from there. A lot of trucks with at least some sort of damage in this. Some worse than others. But back that up again. I'll show you this one more time here before we go and actually look at a little bit more of how these trucks that got involved. And I think going to the onboard view here for Forsyth might be the best explanation. Was there a stack up? Let's see. Nothing major. I mean, he maybe checks up just a little bit right there for the 19 truck, who he was just kind of riding in line behind, but that was John Legger, by the way, in the 19, but there was certainly no major checkup, nothing out of the ordinary. It just looked more so like the 776 kind of minding his gap for now, and the 35 of Tidwell, again, not sure if he kind of got caught just cruising, got caught sleeping, didn't realize how big of a run he had, but just wasn't quite able to check up in time, and right there, you see the slight contact to the rear end, and that's just going to shoot him right down to the track, into the 3. Absolutely nowhere to go for Toby Ritters. And then it's on from there. Up the track he goes. That's a huge hit. And then you see the 27. Also absolutely nowhere to go. That was Michael Hill. He takes a big hit. And then we had a bit of a second incident here with Wesley Carter And Brian Hyde, this was the impact that kind of caught my attention. This was a huge hit for the 13. We'll go to this one now and show you what I'm talking about. This was just ahead of the actual initial wreck. Right there, you see they get turned. These guys technically make it through, but then the 13 Brian Hyde trying to dodge the 35 of Tidwell gets down into the 64, gets himself turned around on the nose, and then, man, look at that. Truck jumps up in the air along the safer barrier. So the 64 of Wesley Carter also getting some damage in that. Let's go see how it looked from his point of view. And our first caution of the night, he sees him wrecking out front. Looks like he parts the season. The next thing you know, he's got a windshield full of the 13. And nowhere to go as a result of it. All right, so as we go back live now, up at the front of the field, lights are off on the pace car. That means that we are going to be going back green this time. Craig Janczak currently being scored as your leader. He is up a position from where he started this race at. Randy Richards second, with James Harris currently sitting back in that third spot. And you've got Bryce Rayner fourth and Andrew Hale currently rounding out your top five. By the way, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. And you might have noticed, but obviously it seemed like the initial start of the race, we got off to a little bit of a chaotic start. When you guess it, right as we were switching over, my mic unplugged, so I had to get things set back up. But nonetheless, excited to be back, still getting a little bit back into the rhythm of things. And I know for these guys here, starting to round out the end of the season. And so with that championship on the line, I think James Harris, really put it, I think the best that you could last week when we had a chance to interview him. He's not really in it for points anymore, just didn't have the best start to it. He's more so chasing trophies right now, and I think that's kind of the spot that a lot of drivers find themselves in with how much of a dominant performance Janczak has had so far throughout the season. He's going to be looking to add to that here tonight. Here we go, green flag back in the air. 7 of 90 laps now complete here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And by the way, since we didn't get a chance to mention it earlier, as these guys get going, take a look on the right of your screen at a little bit of the race info / track info here tonight. Again, Atlanta Motor Speedway, 1.5 miles, but banking that is similar to what we see at a Daytona or Talladega. And now these guys you're going to see running really similar to what we did see last week in a draft, pushing and shoving. But there is a little bit more of a technical aspect to it. You got to save some tire, and you can't push in the corners here, at least not the way that you could last week at Daytona. Weather in the sim, 69 degrees outside, and track temp currently sitting at 84 degrees and cloudy. Now, race length, you probably noticed it right at the drop of the green, but 90 laps in total. Of course, no stage break for these guys, so the only cautions are the ones that we get due to incident. And last but certainly not least, the other thing to mention, fuel mileage 100%, obviously. And seeing how far that'll take these guys here tonight will be the question. And so we'll have to keep an eye on that fuel window depending on how long these guys are able to go green. But Craig Janczak right back in control. And it didn't take the 55 of James Harris too long to settle in behind. I think that these two respectively know that they're kind of the best of the best. And so as part of that, at least when it comes to these super speedways, I should say, they're just going to kind of work with each other for now, even if they're not necessarily the best of friends. No point in trying to race a guy that you know can maybe help keep you up at the front. They'll save all of that for the end of this race when the pay window opens and the race win is on the line. 10 laps now officially in the books. Just like that, they go by quick here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. By the way, last week we had a few driver cams, but how about here tonight? We have got a whole bunch of driver cams. We'll get to a few of them here in just a moment, but certainly always appreciate when these guys join in and participate. If you're watching at home and you're one of the drivers, you want to check out the driver cam, all you got to do is click on the link that we send out each week, and you can see yourself pop up in the real-life cockpit as, ooh, put some contact back there a little bit further back in the pack. Looks like everybody's gathered it up, but there was something. In fact, looks like the 34, Jason Nethery, has had some sort of issue here. Got him into that outside wall as we pop up on the driver camp. We'll show a little more of that in just a moment. But for Nethery here, he's getting back up to speed okay. I think he's going to hang with at least this second pack, but clearly he did lose that first pack. So a tough break there for Nethery. Back up front we go. Craig Janczak, the fastest man of the season, and right now the fastest man of the races. He currently sits up front leading the way. As always, Craig carrying an onboard view for us. Look at his hands. See, it's just subtle movements that he has to make with the steering wheel to try to set that truck up, load it into the corner, and keep a nice steady wheel as he gets pushed down the straights. Now, as he gets off the corner, he works up just a little bit. Notice he gets up to just about that first kind of striped line, if you will, that first seam, whatever you want to call it. That bottom lane seems to be the preferred line as you get late in the run. The outside's fast early, But I think for Craig Janczak, this is a smart decision, getting himself down and kind of tucked on to that double orange line. Now, speaking of that double orange line, similar to what we see at a Daytona or a Talladega, you cannot go below that to advance your position. If you do that, you advance your position, you're going to get penalized. At least these guys are following the regular rules that they did last week. So just keep that in mind. But as we hop on board now with James Harris, a job that he did obviously last week, and it's a tough race. I mean, it's really, really easy to get yourself caught up in a wreck or anything else. But Harris wasn't messing around last week. He went out there and got the job done, collected his first win of the season. And by the way, another update, Craig Janczak, I mentioned earlier, 3 wins on the season. It's actually 4. We've got the addition of 1 more a little bit later on than what I'd initially mentioned. So that's the stats for those two as they run at the moment. Then we go a little bit further back in the field. We've got a whole bunch more driver cams here tonight. How about Bryce Rayner in the 99 machine where he currently sits in the field, down 2 spots from where he started this race at, but still very well in good position. Yeah, it's still a long ways to go in this race. Only 15 laps through. Whoa, man. Harris with an aggressive move to the outside of the racetrack. He's going to try to sneak around the 88 of Janczak right here. I don't think Janczak was quite ready for that, but the big move doesn't quite pay off, at least not as quickly as James Harris may have been hoping. They stay side by side through turn 3 and 4, all for 4. Janczak still with the momentum and the advantage. And how about Brad Thacker in the 56 machine doing all the pushing on the inside right now? Randy Richards doing all the pushing on the outside. And by the way, you kind of, you think about what works here. And we already mentioned briefly where you can push, where you can't push is, ooh, we got another one in the wall, so we'll hold that thought for just a moment. And it looks like, is that going to be a little bit further back? Is that Eli Childs maybe in the 9 truck? No, it is not. It's even further back than that. Brandon Ball in the 17 machine, I believe, making one of his first starts here tonight. So Brandon Ball, that's certainly a little bit of a wake-up call. I don't think it's going to give him any damage, but certainly catches your attention. You ride around in the pack, and I'm not sure if he got tight or got a little bit of help. In fact, why don't we back it up real quick here a lap and see what all goes wrong for this 17. It was over in turn 1 and 2. I think he was on the outside line and just he's going to get some help. He may have had some blinking issues going on right there. Yeah, that's what it looks like. And as he blinks back in, he's already up the racetrack, and then maybe a little bit of contact from Brian High. Now he's in that outside wall, and once you're in it, it's almost like glue. It's really tough to get off of it, but eventually he does. Keeps the momentum up and stays with the lead pack. So nicely done right there by Ball to recover. He's back up front. The leader's still 2x2, fighting for that top spot. What I was getting ready to mention just before that brief hiccup was if you're Randy Richard here, you almost were kind of playing the game of patience. Trouble out back to 35. Blake Tidwell almost up and over. Caution is out. Huge hits over in turn 3. And that is going to take out quite a few of the heavy hitters here. Lap 19, second caution of the night. It started with Brian High getting turned around, and next thing you know, the 35 was almost up and over. Blake Tidwell involved in that first incident. Now he finds himself involved in the second one. So Tidwell with some damage to both the front and the front right of that race truck, and he's not the only one. Brian High was the first truck that we saw get turned sideways out of line. He's got some front-end damage. Jason Nethery as well. So let's go back and see what sparked this one. I mean, looked like Brian High here riding up the racetrack. I didn't think he had anybody behind him, and he doesn't from that point of view. He's up top and then just starts to come down and comes down again. Boy, that's a really odd look. I wonder if Brian High maybe had some sort of mechanical or technical malfunction. To see that truck just dart left that aggressively, you just don't see that, especially on the straight. Definitely makes me think he had some sort of issue that we don't know about. Let's watch the cockpit view here. See what happens. Oh, boy. Well, I'll tell you what, that was... I don't even know. I got to assume he had some sort of technical issue. There's just no other reason you would see a driver yank the wheel left like that on a straight. You see he gets low here and then just... I'm just not really sure what happened. And then at this point, the wheel's still kind of going left. Now it starts to straighten out. And now it looks like he's back to maybe trying to save it. But at that point, obviously, a little bit too late. And for Tidwell, I mean, just nothing he could do here. He's not expecting this. It comes out of nowhere for him. And look at this thing. Up in the air, sits back down on all 4. And then, oh, man, that is a huge hit. for the 19 truck. John Legger had absolutely nowhere to go, and Wesley Carter, the rough night for him continues as well. The 64 also with really nowhere to go. Legger sees it, and looks like initially Legger may have been okay, may have missed it, but we're going to almost have a little bit of a second incident right here. Watch this from the chopper view is kind of a stack up. Everybody trying to get on the brakes to miss it, and somebody misses the memo here. 29 truck, a little bit further towards the back there. That's William Mann Jr. is going to get into the 3 of Toby Clifford and send him down the track into the 19, who it looked like those two had initially missed it. And then up the track goes the 19. There's the big hit for the 13 and the big hit for the 19. All 4 tires of that truck up off the ground. In fact, we'll show you this from another angle. Watch it from the roll bar view here. And this is the 19 machine, John Legger. He's going to see the 35 just in front of him. Look at that truck get up in the air and then gets turned, and bam! Totals the engine immediately on that truck, so he'll have to go in and take a fast repair. And give you a couple more angles of this before we go back live. I'll tell you what, Bryce Rayner, I think it was Bryce here. In fact, it may have been the other 99 machine. Let's see if we can get a look, but he had an interesting perspective of this out the back. Let's go a little bit further back here. There you go. It was Tyler Meeks who I was looking at here in the 99. What a job he does to miss the majority of this. Watch it from his point of view. He sees it, stays on the inside, gets into Brian Hybert, then after that, but for the most part, to keep that truck clean. So nicely done right there by Tyler Meeks. The 99 machine. And then giving you one more look at this here from the TV static point of view. Just a really, really unfortunate incident. Take out a couple trucks that were already involved in that first one. Remember, you do have that fast repair, but you don't want to have to use it this early on, especially knowing things are going to get chaotic later on. But nonetheless, things have been cleaned up, and the heartbreak story last week, Kevin Kirchar leading about 100 feet before the start-finish line to grab the checkered flag, got turned. Here he is now back up front with 21 and 90 laps complete.
Green flag, green
flag's back in the air. Brian Toole on his outside will also hit the gas. Harris and Janzak will be the 2 pushers. Good restart up front. Everybody away with no issues and smoothly through the gears. Pit stop still could be in play here. It's going to be close, but I think on a full tank, these guys could probably make it somewhere in the 50s, maybe closer to 60 in terms of lap count. So you figure 60 plus 20, 82. They're not quite all the way there yet. So I think there is still a green flag stop. Whoa, one in the wall here. That's the 84, Brian Toole. He's going to keep it up there as the field goes around, but caution is back out. Some trouble further back for Blake Tidwell again, who was just involved in this last incident, and now this truck's done. He's got smoke out of the back. This may officially end his night right here. For Tidwell, and ooh, uh-oh. Well, Brian High was destroyed in this wreck too, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe that last incident didn't leave some hurt feelings for these two here. Just interesting to see the 2 exact same guys that kind of sparked the last wreck sparked this one. Let's go back, look at it here, and see if there was anything intentional here, or if these two have just been, fortunately, players of pure circumstances. They're getting up to speed here, and we'll go first to that chomp review. Watch his, see the 35 Tidwell gets in the wall. Here comes Brian High with a great big run, and he's going to hit the 35 right into the wall. I think it was intentional, but he gets in the wall, and then, ouch. Well, I don't want to make full assumptions up here. Again, we don't know exactly what's going on, but I think if I was a fan watching in the stands, I know what I would think of that one, and I think Tidwell may have had enough right here. I just don't know, right? Like when Tidwell gets in the wall up here, I feel like Brian is just going to try to go with him because he's already lacking some momentum anyway, so he's just looking for somebody to work with to try to get back up with the pack. So you see Tidwell way up there. He's already in the outside wall. I'm not sure what gets him in the outside wall here. If he's just riding up the track, waiting, I just don't know. I mean, truck looks clean. He looks okay. The cockpit view. It's up the track. It's on the outside line, and then waits. You hear him letting out of the gas big time. He's really letting out of the gas here. Way out of the gas, and then there's the shot from Brian High, and Yeah, I think that was intentional right there from the 35 of Blake Tidwell. I don't think he was too pleased with the incident that Brian High and him just had right before this, and especially after High gets in the back of him here. I think these two had about enough of each other, and unfortunately they junked both of them. Lucky that they don't clean out anybody else here as Brian High dives low. The 19 gets some damage. Man, you hope that didn't break a suspension component for Legger, who was really just minding his own business right here. But then watch as they get into the corner here. You're going to see Tidwell dive it down. And, I mean, I'll tell you what, if you're going to clean a guy out, make sure you do it right. And he did that. Not sure the admins are going to be too happy about it, though, as this team may very well be parked for the rest of this race. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But nonetheless, give you one more view of this before we'll go back live. Watch it from the tower view. Tidwell yanks it off and dives right down into the right rear quarter panel. Bam. Big hit for both of those trucks. You see the hood flying apart for Tidwell. Forces is able to sneak by on the inside. All right, so there we go as we go back up front and live now. Lights are off on the pace car. We'll try this yet again. And so up front leading the way, it's the 91 of Kevin Kirchard, Craig Janczak second, James Harris third, with Randy Richard fourth, Brad Thacker still rounding out your top five. Quick update on the two involved in that last incident. Brian High looks like he has called it for the night, and for Blake Tidwell, may have still had a fast spare because he's now back out on the racetrack, and the truck appears to be cleaned up. So if you're a Blake Tidwell fan, he is still in it, and the 13's out of it. Guess we know who won that boxing match. But all right, here we go. Pace car going to make the left turn down the pits this time. Still plenty of racing to go. Looks like, in fact, it'll be exactly 65 laps remaining as we grab the green flag. A little bit of a checkup here as they work up to the Geico restart zone. But it looks like everybody's going to accelerate with no issues except for Brad Thacker here. The 56 does not get going as the green flag flies back in the air. The 4, though, is going to stick with him. That's Andrew Hale playing nice for the moment. Back up front, though, 2x2, Janczak and Harris. Janczak and Kirchard, the two leaders. Harris and Richard, the pusher. This is going to be all about who can get the momentum first, because right now it's a 2 versus 3 battle. That inside's getting ready to get their even help now, as here comes the 48 machine on the inside. George Young trying to make some noise. The 88 of Janczak tried to cover. No luck, and they'll stay side by side now as they work through the quad oval. Boy, that was an aggressive move from Janczak to try to stall the 48's momentum, but George Young able to get there and able to make something of it. Still 2x2, but man, this inside is just really disorganized behind the 48 truck. I mean, I think if that outside can get tanded up here, that they might get clear, but it just hasn't happened yet. Janczak not quite able to find a sweet spot with pushing that 91 of Kirchard just yet. Further back there, we had one in the wall. That's Brian Toole. Second time he's been in the wall here tonight. Struggles for the 84 continue. And he's going to damage up the right front of his Toyota Tundra. He stayed green, though, and looks like he's going to be able to continue on, but he will lose touch with the lead pack. 2x2 down the back straightaway they go. The 55 of Harris continues to lead the bottom as the 91 of Kirchard up top. And I think for Kevin Kirchard here, this was a smart decision. I think that he's going to have a lot of speed here early on as long as Janczak can stick with him. But, man, that 88 truck just not quite able to get locked on. He needs a little bit of help from behind, though. It doesn't seem like he's been able to get much of that either. By the way, speaking of Randy Richard, we hop on board with him here for just a moment. Right now, currently sits third on that inside, so he kind of bailed ship on the outside. Now he's going to try to make something happen here. And Richard, though, right now looking very tense in the middle of that pack. Is trouble. Kirchard into the wall. Now the 99 of Bryce Rayner's going to spin. Caution is back out. Andrew Hale's in it. Multiple trucks involved as the caution trend continues here with 30 of 90 laps in the books. The 99 of Rayner going to be able to get that truck back rolling here, but that is not what he needed after having relatively a clean night so far. In fact, first incident I believe that he's been involved in, just as we're on the onboard view there of Randy Richard, is when all heck broke loose, and it's going to start right here with the 99 of Kirchard. I mean, man, it just felt like these guys were kind of ganging up on him to a degree, and it all starts over in turn 1. Let's see, does he just get himself up the racetrack here, or does he get split? Craig Janczak, the 88 purple and yellow truck just behind him. And if we go at this here again from the aerial shot first, Watch as you see Kirchar right there in the middle, and as they get to the center of the corner, looks like he starts to wash up. Janczak looking for a little bit of a run here. And 91's just going to kind of stay up the racetrack. Now Janczak's there. So Kirchar kind of leaves that gap open. Janczak takes it. And as they get into the corner here, they're just going to kind of squeeze each other out of room a little bit. You see that's Bryce Rayner following in the middle there. It looks like from that initial shot, Kirchar may have creeped down the racetrack just a little bit. It wasn't much, and I'm telling you, it is really tough at Atlanta here when you go into a corner 3 wide to try to make enough room for each other, and maybe the 99 arguably creeping up just a little bit on entry, but if it was, it's not much. I think that the 91's arguably definitely coming down the racetrack. You can certainly see, Kirchar, he's got his left side tires basically on the seam right here, and when the contact occurs, he's more so straddling the seam, so he was definitely moving down just a little bit, but it doesn't take much. And as soon as he gets into the 99 of Rayner, that gets him up into the outside wall, and then Rayner's going to go down into the inside line here. This is where he's going to collect a few others. Andrew Hale nowhere to go. You see the 776 forces sliding in the background. And some more damage there for a couple of other trucks on the bottom that didn't have anywhere to escape to. In fact, one of them was Kevin Ward in the 112 machine. Maybe a couple other angles of it here. And there's the 99 sliding up. It certainly wasn't the worst incident we've seen here tonight. Man, boy, that's a tough break for the 112 of Kevin Ward. He didn't even actually hit the 99. Look at the netcode right here. iRacing thinks they're making contact, and they don't. Look at this. There's plenty of gap between those two trucks, so that's a tough break for the 112. But it looks like it's going to be the 99 of Rayner and Kirchar getting the worst of it. Everybody else, for the most part, I think was able to sneak by relatively unscathed. And so we'll rack them up here and try this yet again. It's been a bit of a struggle to get some green flag laps under the belt so far. Nature of the beast, though, sometimes when you come to these super speedways. Look at from that view. As quickly as he got turned around, I want to look at one more angle before we go back live. You see Rayner, that truck got up in the air just a little bit. One of those hits. Watch it right here, though. Kind of just about at the point of contact. And I'm wondering, was there any gap between these two, or were they indeed making contact? Was there a little bit of netcode maybe right there? There may have been. It's really, really difficult to say. And I think that there may have been contact either way, regardless of what happens here. But right here, is there a little bit of netcode? Maybe, but again, I think they were going to make contact regardless of that netcode. And once they started to get turned around, momentum, everything that goes down is going to have to come back up, and eventually it does. So Bryce Rayner is still currently sitting in the pits, getting some repairs worked on. As lights are off on the pace car, James Harris, George Young, going to take us back to green this time, as we're now officially a third of the way through this 135-mile event. Here we go. Green. Back into the restart zone we go. Green flag is back in the air. It is 33 of 90 laps complete here at Atlanta. Great restart for the 55 of James Harris. Now he's just looking for a little bit of help out back. We'll see if he can get it, and if he does, who's he going to get it from first? Looks like the 48 of Young. Going to stay on the outside. You see the 99 of Rayner now trying to get back up to pace. Going to see if he can blend in with this pack. Boy, they got a 3-car push going, and that almost ended badly right there. As the 17 of Brandon Ball was trying to tag on to that inside line. It works. They roll now as the outside really starts to fade here for just a moment. And there you see Rayner out back. Was able to blend back on track with the rest of the pack. He's going to try to link up with another one of the Team Conti machines. Janczak out back, you see now, trying to work his way to the front in that 88 truck, but he's got a lot of work to still do. So now that Harris is back on point, this is going to potentially give some of the field a chance to gather up some track position before we get our next caution. As we had one blinking out right there in the middle. That was a 64 Wesley Carter, it looked like. He gets it back together, though, now. As we go to another one of our onboard views, this is Toby Clifford in the number 3 truck here tonight. And for Toby Clifford, I'll tell you what, that's a cool-looking sim that he's got. He's got the entire racing seat with 5-point harness on. I think the seat might even be moving a little bit. It's always interesting to see as a broadcaster some of the absolutely insane setups that these guys have. And Toby Ritter certainly gets one of them right there. Right now, though, he's currently down 4 spots from where he started this race at. But really not really anywhere he can go. I mean, when you get trapped in the back on the inside, you feel like you're kind of at a stalemate. until everybody else starts dicing things up. And now we got another one blinking here in the middle of the pack. Might be the 112 of Kevin Ward. Looks like it was. It's going to make the field a little bit on edge for a minute until that seems to clear out. By the way, the 52 of Wesley Shaw is our final onboard cam here tonight. Rather, our second final onboard view here tonight. Looks like he is in, I don't know if he's in some kind of college esports room or what, but another driver that's got a very nice setup going on right now. And he currently finds himself in that 6th position, up 14 places from where he started this race at, as the field continues to look very, very disorganized out back. And then last but certainly not least, the man who got off the rough start in this race, it's Michael Hill. And he is still trying to catch a break here. He only sits a lap down, so if he gets that lap back, he'll still have just as good of a shot as anybody, but he's going to need that caution before it gets too late or too many drivers find themselves a lap down. All right, and with that, we'll now settle our sights back up front, where they still continue to go at it. I mean, I know we've had 4 or 5 cautions, but you would not know it with the way these guys are still racing. We'll be approaching 40 laps complete here in just a couple. And we are getting closer and closer to that halfway point in the race. By the way, I think for Janzak and anybody else who went to top off during that last caution, they may be able to make it on fuel the rest of the way, and depending on obviously how cautions fall, they may choose not to pit again. That may be why they decided to pit now, just assuming that we'll get quite a few more cautions before this race is all said and done. And when that's the case, and it's nothing but short runs, it's all about track position. You certainly want to be able to get that and not have to worry about going in for fuel. Whoa, we had one truck almost get turned out back. That was Wesley Carter. And man, he is going to save it. What a save that was, too. It looked like he was headed dead left for the inside safer barrier, and I think he may have came across somebody's nose right here. It's a 91 of Kirchard just behind him, and watch it from the chopper view. We'll just get one look at this here before we go back up front, but right there as they come off the corner, Carter just come down a little bit. I think he thought he was still clear, and boy, not quite, but a nice save to keep it nice and keep things green and keep it clean out back. So now 40 of 90 laps officially in the books. The 55 of James Harris continues to lead the field on the bottom of the racetrack. The 56 of Brad Thacker up top. And they stay 2x2 out back. This quad oval, man, it seems like it's getting sketchier and sketchier as we go through each and every lap. You can't, I shouldn't say you can't, because you can push through it, but you have to be so careful and so precise if you try to do that. And at the same time, if you're the one just getting pushed or just somebody driving through it, you can't drive it like a normal tribal where you turn the wheel as you kind of hit each kink. You have to kind of turn the wheel before you get to each turn. Otherwise, it's very easy to get the truck loose and get it out of shape. See if I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. Watch as he exits quad oval. He's already got that wheel turning. You see how he does that? He doesn't wait until he gets to the little kink and then try to turn it. It just seems to get the truck unsettled. Another one in the wall. That was the 15 this time. And can everybody hold on? Ooh, we got a couple trucks dicing down to the bottom. That was the 29 of William Mann Jr. who made that aggressive move. And I think for Janzak, Andrew Hale, and a couple others back here, they are really wanting to get back to the front and get away from some of this chaos. About Jason Taylor, by the way, up 9 positions from where he started this race at. Now he's up 11 as he currently sits in the 8th position. Still 2x2, though. Nobody has dared to try to take it 3 wide here. For the most part tonight, we only saw it once, and it resulted in a wreck, and we haven't seen it since then. As you see the 15 getting a big old run right there as they come up on turn 3, the 4 of Andrew Hale. And, oh, the 17 in the wall. Now that's going to stack them up. There they go, the 99 around. Right, caution's going to come back out. Blake Tidwell's in it. Wesley Carter's in it. The 29, William Mann Jr. through the grass. Carter and Tidwell will slide to a halt. Eli Childs, I think, is going to be okay. I don't think he gets in this one. Tyler Meeks may have gotten some damage, though. And another caution. 5th one of the night here. Just 45 laps. So now we will get a restart officially over halfway. Let's go back and... I mean, I think I know at least what started this, but really at the same time, I'm not sure what got the 17 such a quick loss of speed right here. Does he get a sour push going into the corner, or is there some contact? What happens here? This is Brandon Ball right on the outside here. He's going to get a push. Kind of right as they get into the corner. The 48, George Young, shoving him for all it's worth, but he's okay there. Thacker on the bottom is going to bump the apron. He starts to come up the racetrack a little bit, and looks like as he does, he makes maybe slight contact with the 17, and via that contact and a little bit of right front net coat, it shoots that 17 trunk right up into the outside wall. That's what loses all the speed, and the 48 of George Young, obviously, nowhere to go. He's going to get to the back of them. They're going to stack them up right there on back, and 99 of Meeks, I think, gets the worst of it. Let's see if we can go back here and watch this again from Meeks' point of view. Is he's going to see it play out right in front of him, and the stack up. It's just, I mean, it's such a quick loss of speed that there's no way everybody's going to be able to check up in time without running into each other, and it's exactly what they do. But for the most part here, Meeks and a few others, they straighten it out. Obviously, some damage there on the right side for Meeks, so he'll have to go in and get that repaired. But overall, they were able to at least keep it pointed and rolling in the right direction. Now further back, Blake Tidwell, both him and Wesley Carter, they got tangled up trying to miss this. And I don't know how much damage these two received. Here you go. We're going to see the 35 start trying to check up, and actually gets ran into the back of by the 64 of Wesley Carter. And they're both going to slide up along that outside safer barrier before they both eventually also come to a halt. So the struggles continue here tonight for a lot of drivers, keeping things clean. Now, last week, by the way, these guys had 2 fast spares, so part of me wonders if they've got 2 here tonight, because some of these trucks we have seen in a few incidents now, and it seems still able to return out on the racetrack. So it makes me think that they've got some kind of ace up their sleeve, as lights will go back off on the pace car. And we will get another restart here. 46 of 90 laps complete, so we are officially just 1 over halfway. Kevin Kirchar being scored again as your leader. Toby Clifford in second. Craig Janzak back in third. Randy Richard fourth. James Harris currently rounding out your top 5. Well, for Kevin Kirchar, beautiful looking paint scheme on his truck here tonight. And we'll see what he can do right here. As the last restart that he was up front leading, found himself getting kind of trapped on the outside. And hopefully he doesn't get himself in that spot again if that truck's not feeling too comfortable up there. Now, it's kind of interesting because as tires wear out here, these trucks tend to get loose and tight kind of at the same time. In the corner, the truck tends to want to drift up, but if you start to put even just a little bit too much wheel into it, it also wants to get loose. So it's a very interesting package that these guys are working with here at Atlanta. As we look out back for Kevin Kirchar there, kind of the rear view, mirror view, if you will. As he's got the Grant County mulch sponsor on the front of his Chevy Silverado here tonight, just on his outside Toby Ritters. So as it stands right now, everybody's going to be good to go on fuel. Everybody's going to be good to go on tires. But if we get another caution late, I think there's certainly an argument that maybe you consider taking tires, as it can wear out here over the course of a long run if we get one. Haven't been able to do so far. Let's see if we can change that around right now. Green flag back in the air. Good restart for the first couple rows. James Harris had a brief checkup. Looks like he'll be able to quickly get things straightened out. Janzak immediately going to work his way to the top, and what that's going to do is funnel out the 3 of Toby Ritters. Man, I don't think he saw that one coming. Man, that is just such a tough break, but there we go. They're going to let him back in. It's the worst feeling as a driver when you get split out, because you know there's nothing you can do, and just as I thought they were going to let him back in, Dacker's still in the middle here. So 3 trucks going to continue being stuck on that outside until he either gets some help or drops in line somewhere. Now they're going to go 4 wide trouble. This is going to hurt. Big hit into the outside wall. The 3 truck up in the air. Toby Ritters is in it. Andrew Hale. Multiple others caution right back out as the pace car almost gets involved. And oh, they're still wrecking the 99 of Tyler Meeks at the end of it. Sixth caution of the night. And this one may actually end a couple nights. 56 of Thacker. Major damage. I don't know if he's still got a fast spare left. I believe he does. Well, here we go. It's all going to start with just a little too much aggression. I hate to say it. I mean, we're 3 wide here on the first lap after the restart. It's just not going to work with the way things have been going, you feel like. And as they come off the corner there, Toby's getting pretty tight. Looks like he gets maybe even up into the outside wall here, and he's just trying to give himself a little bit of room right here. Sees that outside wall, so he's got to put a little more wheel into it. And as he gets off the corner, I don't know if that gets him a little bit loose or if the truck's just kind of washing down the racetrack, but watch it again from the chopper view. You see the 56, Brad Thacker in the middle, and Thacker's going down, but the 3 truck is as well, and the 3 truck's going to tag him in the right side. That gets Thacker down into the 52 of Wesley Shaw, and they're going to go right back up the racetrack here, and big hit for the 56, but I'm telling you, that was going to be an absolutely massive hit for the 52 if he doesn't hit the 3 on the way to the outside wall, but instead, we get into Toby Clifford. Andrew Hale takes a shot. Jason Nethery takes a shot. Just a bunch of really big hits. And then some more contact even after you thought it was all said and done. This guy's still wrecked a few more times. Watch it again from TV3. As there's the contact. See the 52 and the 56 hard in the wall. Look at the 3 truck start to lift up off the ground, but quickly sets back down. And then 29 William Mann Jr. on the apron. They're all trying to dodge it. Gets into the 4 of Andrew Hale. I think Eli Childs is able to just briefly sneak by the 56 of Thacker in the grass. And there's the big hit following. John Legger nowhere to go. And Tyler Meeks right here. Bam. Trying to bob and weave through it, but as Cletus McFarland said in the ARCA race on Saturday, he just zigged instead of zagged. Unfortunately, that was the wrong decision in that case. A couple more angles of this here before we go back live. Look again at this 3 truck. It's just always so wild looking. You see a truck get up in the air like that. And a couple more big hits right here for Hale, Nethery. And it wasn't over just yet. Brian Toole does a good job of, for the most part, missing it. But then Tyler Meeks takes a pretty big shot as well. Let's watch it from the onboard view here for Andrew Hale, who unfortunately got a pretty good view of this and then found himself involved in it at the same time. Thought he was okay there, but then right here. Man, what hurts him, and I know this is a little bit of a side tangent, if you will, but just watch this. As he gets turned, as part of the package with these trucks, look how it starts to lift up. It's not much. He's not close to flipping. But when it lifts up like that, the brakes aren't really doing much. So he's trying to scrub off speed, but the truck's in the air, so he's just not really slowing down nearly as effectively as he would like to. And so he's got so much speed, by the time he gets there, it just knocks down that outside safer barrier. And again, as mentioned there, Tyler Meeks nowhere to go. One more view of this here from the crank it up view. Brad Thacker there, he's going to make another hit off the inside wall right there. And there's Meeks. So this was, I think, the big one here tonight. We've had a lot of wrecks, but I don't think we've had one quite as big as that one just was. Collects about 5 to 10 different trucks. And so now on the back end of it, we'll get a restart with under 40 laps to go. Kevin Kirchar, Randy Richard at the front of the field. James Harris, Craig Janzak, row 2. With Jason Taylor, William Mann, row 3. Brandon Ball, Caleb Forsyth, row 4. Wesley Shaw and Kevin Ward currently rounding out your top 10. So for the 91 of Kirchar, found himself in this position a little bit later in the race last week. Did a great job, did everything right. Last lap just didn't work out. Got to think he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder and is feeling like he wants some revenge this week. We'll have to see how it goes, but as they go back into the Geico restart zone, looks like it will officially be 39 laps to go here at Atlanta. Green flag is back in the air, and it's a good restart for the 91 of Kevin Kirchar. He'll have the option here to turn 1 to either go up to the top or stay tucked on the bottom. Right now, he's going to try to drag up right to the middle, actually. And as they get into the corner, he'll work right back down to the bottom of the racetrack. Here comes Harris. Janzak going to bail, too. Looks like he's going to try to go to the inside. And he'll pick up the 53 machine. That's a fellow Team Conti driver, Randy Richard. Those two going to stay in line here until that outside either starts to develop or until they've got a run that they feel like is worth taking. The 15 right now, Jason Taylor, he's going to try his luck on the outside, and he's going to get a taker here. The 29 of William Mann Jr. going to go up to the top. They'll try to get tandemed up as they work out of the quad oval into turn 1. And every time they climb the banking like that, it wears out those Goodyear tires just a little bit. We haven't gone on any sort of a run anywhere near long enough for it to matter. But you still got to always keep that in mind, just in case we do get some sort of a long run here to round things out. Coming up on one of the lappers here, that's going to be Wesley Carter. It's going to get a little tight here for a moment as they'll go 3 wide off of turn 4, but it looks like everybody's going to be able to keep it nice and clean. And what a push for William Mann Jr. That is one of the best pushes we've seen all night as he shoves the 15 of Jason Taylor right out to the lead. Taylor takes that lead now. That outside may start to disintegrate here as you got one blinking. That's the 17. Brandon Ball. Looks like now he's going to get it back together. Kirchar Boy, it just looks like that truck's really struggling to kind of hold the bottom of the racetrack right now. James Harris continues to cut him a break, but at some point here, you almost start to wonder and worry. For Kerchar, if he gets up, does he get split, or worse, does he maybe accidentally get hooked from out back? You got to be really disciplined when you're riding that bottom line, even that top line, because the guys behind you are trying to follow as close as they can, but if you start to get out of line too many times, that's where guys can make a mistake, accidentally give you a bad bump at a bad spot on the racetrack. For Janczak, I got to feel like that restart did not go the way that he had it planned. I mean, he was up front for it. Looked like he dove to the inside, was third on the first lap of the restart. Now all of a sudden he finds himself back in 8th. Still well inside the top 10, obviously, but you don't want to lose any track position if you don't have to, especially if you're a guy like Craig Janczak, and we know that he likes to be up front and lead as many laps as he can, not just simply win the race. Still 2x2, the 29 though, gonna tuck a nose out in front as they'd worked into turn 3 that time. And for William Mann Jr., it's been kind of a hectic night. He's been involved in a couple incidents, up 16 spots from where he qualified, and here he is, finds himself in that front spot as James Harris maybe looking to the middle right here, the 55. Ducked his nose down a couple times, but just never really was able to develop the run to do anything with it. We'll see if he tries that again right here as they work onto the backstretch. Looks like for now the 55 content to stay in line on the outside, but the 17 blinking is just not helping the confidence or the progress of that top lane. Looks like we are going to have one bring it down to the pits here. It's the 99 of Tyler Meeks. Speaking of pitting, I don't know if we're going to have to worry about it obviously now, but the way pit road is set up here at Atlanta, iRacing updated it. You now have to enter the pits in turn 3 instead of off of turn 4 the way it used to be, and you'll actually see that here if we go to a cockpit view. Watch for right there. You see that white line that goes across? That is where pit road starts. So by that point, you have to be below that commitment line, and if you're not, you're going to get yourself a penalty. Just keep that in mind. If for some reason we either had a green flag stop or even under caution, I've seen drivers still make that mistake, is it's really obviously not something that you're necessarily used to. And man, a couple really big checkups right there. As we got onto the corner, you saw the fire out of the pipes for both lanes. Everybody's still keeping it together, 2x2 up front. And this pack goes all the way back to about 14th, a little bit closer up front actually, about 11th, 12th place. As Toby Ritter's the last truck in line. I see a couple others here, but I think it's a couple of lap trucks, including Bryce Rayner and then the 64 of Wesley Carter. And Jason Ethery right now leading this second pack, and he's not alone. He's got Michael Hill, Blake Tidwell, and Brian Toole with him. It's looking like that group is going to need a caution to have any chance. Kevin Ward by himself in the 16th spot. There's Wesley Shaw, who we saw in that last wreck, currently running by himself. John Leggers in 18th, Brad Thacker in 19th. Currently still running with one of these major packs. In fact, running with the lead pack at the moment. Andrew Hale back in 20th, Tyler Meeks in 21st, Wesley Carter 22nd. And then Eli Childs, who we saw in the race, has retired, and I'm not exactly sure why. I don't think he was involved in any of the incidents. Maybe just not his night, so either way, he has called it quits for the moment. As we now are closing in on what's going to be 29 laps remaining here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So far, William Mann Jr. has not found victory lane this season, but he may have an opportunity here tonight. He can keep on the pace that he is at right now. He is your leader. Brandon Ball sits in second, and Randy Richard currently rounds out the podium. Stick with us. We'll be back at Atlanta.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got paddles.
The monkey is prime!
This season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time! Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Live at Atlanta Motor Speedway with the Atlanta 135 closing in on the end, and just in time, caution is back out for trouble involving Wesley Carter in a 64 truck, and looks like whatever it was, he's going to immediately tow it back to the pits. We'd finally started to get into some green flag racing there. It looked like these guys were finding a rhythm up front, just as they were. We go back under caution, what is going to set us up for a restart within 20 laps to go. Let's go back and look at what happened here to Wesley, who was running at this second pack that had kind of grouped up here. He wasn't on the lead lap. In fact, a couple laps down as they go into turn one here. What happens? He's up the racetrack, gets into the wall, and oh, actually Wesley Carter with a brief issue in front of him. Excuse me, not Wesley Carter, Wesley Shaw with a brief issue just in front of him in that 52 truck. That's what's going to send him up the racetrack. So watch Wesley Shaw there in the 52. Kind of has himself in a bit of an awkward spot here, kind of hanging in the middle. But then as he gets in the corner, it looks like he just gets loose. That's a really odd look, but that's what it looks like, and then overcorrects a little bit here, trying to save it. But now you've got the 64 up on the top, and nowhere to go. He runs at the back of him, and then it's on from there. Big hits, and man, I'll tell you what, really, really lucky break right here for the 35 at Tidwell. He got hit in that right rear, and usually that sends you right up into the outside wall, but instead it's the 64 and the 52. Get two destroyed race trucks. Everybody else is going to live to fight another day, but it has been a battle of attrition so far here tonight. A lot of cautions, and they have not been light ones, too. We have seen some heavy, heavy hits, and this one is no exception. Watch it again right here. In fact, before we look at any more views from this, I want to go to Wesley Shaw's onboard and see, does he just wait until he gets into the corner to try to set the truck? Sometimes that's what can cause it. Watch here. That's exactly what causes it. So notice what he does, and it's kind of a hard thing to explain. I think some of the drivers will know a little bit better of what I'm talking about, but whenever you go to these high-banked super speedways, everybody thinks it's really simple, which it is to a degree, but there's still certain things you got to do, and one of them, especially here as tires wear out, is you've got to set the truck going into the corner, meaning that you want to kind of have that truck already pointed and turning left as you get into the corner. You don't want to wait until you're in the corner and then turn the wheel left, because it seems to get the back end unstable. And that's exactly what happens to Wesley. Watch this. So right about here is normally when you're kind of setting yourself up. Not yet. There he goes. Right there. He turns the truck once he's already in the corner. Again, I'll play that slow. Watch this. So right here is when you're usually already pointed. But then right here is when he's going to turn it left, and just the back end starts to step out on him a little bit. Once it does, down the track corrects a little bit too much. And for Wesley Carter, that just unfortunately left nowhere to go. That may have damaged some suspension components too on those trucks with the way they hit the wall, but we'll have to wait and see. Either way, though, Wesley Carter, wondering if he may just decide to call it for the night. It's been a rough go for him as well. A lot of wrecks that he's been involved in, not of his causing, and this is going to be a frustrating one, I think, for some of the leaders. It felt like they had a pretty comfortable gap. These guys that are back here racing just to hopefully get a caution, and ultimately ended up being, to a degree, the cause of it. But nonetheless, as we go back up front now, 20 laps to go. It'll be 19. We'll get the green flag right here. Up front leading the way is still William Mann Jr. in that 29 truck. Been doing a good job so far. We'll see if he can hold on here the rest of the way. You've got the 776 of Caleb Forsyth, who's up 9 spots from where he started this race at. On the outside, James Harris, George Young, row 2. Toby Ritters, Jason Nethery, row 3. With Janzak and Richard in row 4. Tidwell and Rayner in row 5. By the way, tip of the hat to Blake Tidwell. Good recovery for him after some of the incidents that he had to deal with earlier, and the incident that he got involved with, and then the intentional incident where he took out the 13 of Brian High, but here he is now. Back up inside the top 10, and it's a good recovery. I'm telling you, it's hard to do when you get damaged at these super speedways to try to get back to the front, especially in one that, I know 90 laps seems like a long time, but here that's pretty short. And now they're going to be going green with just 19 to go. So if you thought it was aggressive already, you might want to grab a seat because this is getting ready to get exciting. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. 19 laps to go at Atlanta. Good restart for the 29 of William Mann Jr. He's going to lead them all down as they climb the banking in turn number 1. Caleb Forsyth trying to figure out what he wants to do right now, trying to fend off more so the 55 of James Harris, which it looks like he'll do for the moment. And a lot of fishtailing out back. Watch out. Toby Ritter is going to get split 3 wide here. Can they sort this out as they work into turn number 3? And anytime you get 3 wide, it always gets really dicey. Tidwell, will he cut Randy Richard a break here and let him back to the outside? It looks like he will not. He'll stay 3 wide. Tidwell gets into the outside safer barrier. Richard looks for more, and Ritter's going to let him in. I think Ritter saw how that ended earlier and wanted no part of that. He said, you know what, man, if you want it, you can have it. Up front, though, they stayed 2 by 2. The 2 that restarted on the front row, still the 2 battling for the lead. But look at this. Harris is going to split him. Man, Forsyth did not see that coming. James Harris out of nowhere splits the 776 through the middle. What a pass. That may have been the move of the night right there. And James Harris takes the lead. Forsyth sits in second. And you almost wonder, will Forsyth try to get him back? The same move. Whoa, watch out, Harris. Is he going to save it? He does. Oh, my goodness. There was contact, and now they're trying to check up out back to hold on to it. Tidwell going to go low here below the 34. Jason Nethery. They all save it, but, man, for Harris, that's going to cost him a whole bunch of track position here. Let's back up and see what exactly caused that one. Did somebody come up, or did he come down? As they got into the corner right here, it's the 29 William Mann Jr. on the bottom of the racetrack. We'll get one look at this here. And watch the inside and watch the outside. Who does what? It looks like the 29 was certainly riding up a little bit as they got into the corner. But either way, just slight contact. Didn't take much. And gets that 55 turn. Look at the save, though. And James Harris. I mean, you just don't do that here. As we go back live, caution is out now for the 8th time tonight. Trying to find out exactly who the trouble was this time. And we'll have to go back and actually see if we can look for it. I've not shown any data of exactly who wrecked here. But it'll now give us a restart inside maybe 10 laps to go, maybe just a few before then. But here we go. Let's see if we can figure out what brings out this caution. You see the bulk of the field here in turn 1 and 2. And, oh, right there, 17 truck looks like it's going to get turned around. That's Brandon Ball. It's been that kind of night for him as well. A lot of drivers it's been that way for. And we're going into the corner right here. He blinks out just briefly, and as soon as he blinks back in, he's already turned around. So that's obviously a technical issue there. Whenever you blink out, other drivers have no idea what to expect. And even as a driver yourself, you don't know what to expect. It's kind of just all about where and when you end up blinking back in. And unfortunately, it was a bad time for when the 17 blinked back in. And it was just really nothing that anybody could do, obviously, when it happened. He saves it, I think, for the most part here, but still got sideways enough to draw the caution, obviously. And there's one more truck that gets involved in this just briefly. Is watch the 17 right there is when he pops back in. And yeah, it's the 112 Kevin Ward, who just had absolutely nowhere to go. And then 4 of Andrew Hale able to dodge him. Nice piece of driving there from Hale. And so with this restart now, things just going to, again, continue to get more and more aggressive. That happened at the back of the pack, so lucky that we didn't see more trucks collected, but I don't think that's our last caution. Certainly not with the way things have been trending right now. But it'll be, looks like probably either 11 or 12 laps to go depending on if we get the one-to-go signal this time. And so up front, George Young now finds himself leading the way. Craig Janzak second, with Randy Richard third, James Harris fourth, Bryce Rayner in fifth, Blake Tidwell sixth, Jason Ithery seventh, Jason Taylor eighth, Brad Thacker ninth, and Kevin Ward currently rounding out your top 10. Kevin Kirchar, by the way, all the way back now to the 12th spot. So he's still going to have some work to do, but for Kirchar, and still working with a little bit of that chip on his shoulder after last week, so I think that he's got to feel like he's certainly got himself some momentum to try to make it happen. Let's see how he's feeling right here tonight. Hey, Kevin, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Austin.
Oh, man, it has been pure chaos here tonight, and you've been in the front of it, you've been in the back of it, you've been right in the middle of it, and now you find yourself 12th up 2 spots from where you started here with a restart that's going to be right around 10 laps to go. So what becomes the game plan right now?
Man, I don't know. It is a mess out here. I'm going to try to find me a hole and just hold it to the floor and see what happens.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty good game plan with the way we've seen things going so far. But, I mean, man, after last week, you were so close. You did everything right. You were leading 50 feet before the line. Unfortunately, you got turned right there at the end. But you find yourself at the front at the end. How much would a win mean here? What are you willing to do for it?
Man, it'd be huge to beat these guys. There's some good competition here. You know, I'll do whatever it takes to win it. I just don't know that I've got the truck to win it. We'll see what happens, though.
Certainly will. Hey, chaos has already played out tonight. We may see some more if you get through it. Find yourself at the front at the end. You never know. Kevin, we appreciate you talking to us. Good luck the rest of the way.
Hey, thank you, guys.
There you go. Kevin Kirchar, driver of the 91 truck. Right now, finding himself again in that 12th spot. He's got some work to do, but he's got a chance to do it. And you know, that's a good point that he mentioned about I don't know if I have the truck to do it. Don't forget that all these guys are on open setups, so they're not on. It's not like fixed set where everybody's dead equal. When you're on open setups, there's a lot of different things that can make a truck slightly faster than others, especially these super speedways. Some guys are better with lead trucks, others are better pushers. And sometimes at the end, when you might need just that little bit of an advantage, better setup can certainly prevail. And here we go, Young and Janzak. Craig Janzak looking to get win number 5. George Young looking for his first win of the season. Green flag back in the air. It'll be 12 laps to go here at Atlanta, and it's a good restart for the 48 of George Young. He will pull out to a lead as they climb the banking into turn 1. And now that Janzak's back up front, I have a feeling that he's getting ready to get pretty aggressive pretty quickly. And I know it's a long ways away, but we got to get to the white flag before this race would be official. But how about Randy Richard splitting up the middle? Where did he come from? Randy Richard says no thank you to pushing. He's going to split the middle. James Harris goes up top with Janzak, and we are 3 wide off of turn 4. This is going to be a question now of where does Rayner go? Where's the help going to stay? Janzak's going to jump in the middle. He'll pick up 2 Team Conti trucks as James Harris now all by himself up top. The 99 of Rayner is going to have to stick with a 55. They'll now shuffle back to 2 lanes. But, man, I'll tell you what, the 48 of George Young did not see that move coming. They caught him blindside. And what a pass it was for the 53 of Randy Richards, but it doesn't work out as he still finds himself in second. And we'll now officially see double high fives. Just 10 laps remaining here at Atlanta as the 55 of James Harris looking to go back-to-back at the super speedways, collect his second win of the season. And guess who he's going against? The only man who's got more wins than any other driver in the series, Craig Janzak, who right now has 4 wins, looking to make it win number 5 here tonight. Those are both of the onboard views. Both drivers about as tense as you can be right now. And it's just going to stay that way here for the remainder of this race. 135 miles to start, and we are closing in on the last couple handfuls of them. And now the 55 of Harris going to poke a nose out in front as they work into turn 1. And really, it's 2 Team Conti setups on the bottom versus a Team Conti and another setup up top. And that's going to make it a tough deal right here for James Harris. But I'll tell you what, give credit to Rayner. Whether that's a guy he's working with or not, he has certainly given all he's got to try to push the 55 out to the lead. Going to see now just 8 laps to go. At some point, I got to think these guys further back are going to start getting a little bit desperate. When are we going to start to see that 3rd lane form, and who's going to be the first trucks to go out there and try to make it happen? Usually when we talk about that 3rd lane too, we see it either on usually the outside, but here at Atlanta, depending on what the guy in front of you is doing, you can really make it work either in the middle or the outside. And the 15. Jason Taylor looked like he was maybe ducking out a couple times there. Not sure if he was just looking for some air or maybe trying to debate if he wants to make that move. Randy Richard, another driver that's in great position here to potentially grab his first win of the season. If he wants it, he's going to have to get around a fellow Team Conti truck and that 88 of Janzak to try to do it. Here's the onboard view for Randy Richard right now. Again, the steady wheel, slight movements, anything that can try to give a slight advantage to that inside line via pushing. We'll be coming to 6 laps to go this time. Janzak still out in front, looking pretty comfortable. That outside I mentioned earlier seems to be good on the shorter portion of a run, but as you get deeper into it, I always kind of felt like the inside prevails, but the momentum on the straights always seems to go to that outside. Will that be the winning advantage for the 55 of Harris, or the 53 Richards get locked onto the 88 of Janzak at the perfect time as, whoa, Blake Tidwell, big fishtail there into the middle. Looked like he got a little bit loose. And now we're going to start to see some 3 wide further back. Here we go. Toby Ritter's going to be the first truck to try to go 3 wide. He'll make that pass. And now he sticks in line behind the 91 of Kirchar. Kirchar hasn't been able to find any sort of a gap to try to fill just yet, but he may be getting ready to follow Brad Thacker to the front. Looks like the 56 was looking for a lane in the middle. Couldn't find anything that time, and we're still 2 by 2 with 4.5 laps remaining. Something's going to give here, and there it is. Further out back, the 99 goes around. I think it was Tyler Meeks. Excuse me, it was actually the 112 of Kevin Ward. And that caution will now set us up for a restart. And actually, I was going to say there were 2 laps to go, our first overtime, but just 4 laps to go. It will officially send us into our first overtime attempt, as Kevin Ward has some damage on that truck. Looks like a little bit to the left rear. Maybe some more on the rear than we can see from this point of view. But the front seems to be relatively okay. We'll have to see what happened here to get him turned around and into that outside wall. Well, we were saying something was going to have to give here. I think it was just more so a matter of when and where. And it does here. Down the back straightaway, Kevin Ward and 29 of William Mann Jr. were pretty close to each other here, door to door even. And you see as they came off the corner, it was William Mann who got up the track into the 112, and then down the straightaway. The 29 here was just more so trying to side draft than anything, and I think there was definitely some echo between these two. Watch it again from a bit of a straight-on point of view, and you can see there's no contact there. The 29 is going to start to come back up a little bit. There's no contact there. There's no contact there. Well, actually, I take that back. Right there, there may have been a little bit. That may have been what actually got him turned around, and then once he does get kind of hooked on, and send that truck back up the track, and really hard hit into that outside safer barrier with the rear tailgate of his truck. So Kevin Ward going to have to go in for some repairs, or at least a fast repair if nothing else. Nice job right there by the 17 of Brandon Ball. Man, I don't know how he missed that one. He had to shoot the gap after getting on the brakes. Watch this from his point of view. This is pretty wild. Man, it's about as good of a job as you can do missing a wreck. I know a lot of people say that isn't part of the racing aspect here and getting yourself to the front, but missing those big wrecks, crucial moments, I always felt like it certainly was. And as we go back live now, you've got James Harris being scored as your leader. Craig Janzak second, Bryce Rayner third, Randy Richard fourth, Blake Tidwell fifth. And man, for James Harris here, I got to think he's feeling a little bit like a sit duck right now. It's going to be interesting to see what he does here, and if he's going to be able to hold them all off here. What could be this final restart of the night. It will again send us into our first overtime. Overtime rules are as follows. It'll be a 2-lap shootout. If the leader takes the white flag, race is official, and the next flag would end it. But obviously iRacing doesn't throw the caution on the white flag, so we will race it back to the checkered. But if we get a caution on that first lap before we make it to the white flag, then we will rack them up and try it again. And we can do that, I believe it's either 2 or 3 times. But hopefully these guys only need 1 to wrap it up. And if you're just tuning in, obviously we appreciate you being here. If you've been sticking around, we appreciate you hanging with us, as you're watching the Grindstone Developments Truck Series here on PGR eSports. And again, just to catch you up, the storylines up front, James Harris looking for his 2nd win and 2 in a row after winning at Daytona last week. And for Craig Janzak, looking to see if he can get win number 5. Rayner and Randy Richard looking for win number 1. Tidwell and George Young, just about everybody else in the field, it feels like, looking for win number 1. ready to see who can get the job done. We already went the scheduled 135 miles, and now we're going to go ahead and go a couple more. As, by the way, looking at the weather outside, track temp, 81 degrees. They have warmed up just a little bit from where we started this race at, but it's been relatively cool, so these guys should have decent grip, minus, of course, the fact that they're on somewhat older tires. But obviously, you can't pit now. It is going to be an all-out brawl for these final couple of positions. Who is going to get the job done? Conclusion to the Atlanta 135 is upon us. Here we go. 2-lap shootout, green-white checkered style. Green flag back in the air. 2 laps to go at Atlanta, and it's a good restart for the 55 of James Harris. He'll quickly pull away to a lead as they work down towards turn number 1. But, oh man, Janczak, he is going to have the help right now. In fact, looks like he's able to line his teammate up right away. Randy Richard locked onto the back of Craig Janczak. They'll have the run as they work off at turn number 2. Janczak getting pushed for all it's worth. He'll get clear to the bottom. Where is he going to go with it? He'll take the run right to the bottom. Meanwhile, further back, Rayner almost gets split 3 wide. The field is a mess behind him. Off of 4, they're wrecking big time. Will it draw the caution? Not yet. White flag in the air. Race is official. 1 lap to go at Atlanta. The 88 of Janczak trying to block. He's going to look to block again down low. The 55 of Harris is there. They almost wreck. Janczak saves it, but they're going to wreck out back. Rayner's in it. The rest of the field's going to get collected. James Harris out front, but here comes Kevin Kirchar. Final time through 3 and 4. Kirchar's got to run. Where is he going to take it? Looks up top. Harris blocks. Kirchar's there. It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the checkered. Kirchar's got the run. Who gets to the line first? Kevin Kirchar gets the win. After an upset last week, Kevin Kirchar comes back to grab the win. Harris takes second, but what a win. Kevin Kirchar, out of nowhere on the last lap, gets it. Oh my goodness, what a finish. Well, it's heartbreak for Harris this week. But man, you got to feel good about that one for Kirchar. With the way things ended last week, to come back and win it. First win of the season for Kevin Kirchar. Oh man, that might have been the best finish we got of the season, even with the photo finish last week. Well, it was a last lap wreck, and I'll tell you what, I thought for sure that James Harris was far enough out in front that he was going to be able to get the job done, but just did not quite work out that way, unfortunately. As Kevin Kirchar burns it down here on the front stretch below the apron. Talked about that good-looking paint scheme earlier with the Grant County mulch, and he's going to get that sponsor into victory lane here tonight. So as he continues to burn it down here, before we go look at your official results, got to go back and look at this. I mean, this was wild all the way from about the white flag forward. So first of all, you're probably wondering, why didn't we get a caution here? Well, there's a certain point in which if trucks wreck, even if it's not quite to the white flag, a lot of times iRacing doesn't seem to throw the caution. And so here you go from the blimp cam. I mean, it's just a mess out back. You knew something was going to give. It finally does. A couple trucks wreck out back. Actually, all things considered, they relatively keep it together. Now, this is where things are going to start to get interesting for James Harris. Is we're going to start to get some blocking going on right here. Right as they get into the corner, I mean, Janczak, you know, it's the last lap. He's got a block. It's really his only shot here. He knows it. He threw a couple that worked out, but then this last one here just not able to work out, and obviously Harris not going to lift at that point. Janczak saves it, but then as Rayner wrecks, they all pile up behind, but guess who doesn't? Kevin Kirchar, he sneaks through the gap, as does Toby Ritters. And the 15 of Jason Taylor, and then right here, Harris goes to block, makes the block work, but Kirchar looks a lane higher. And as they work back here off of turn 4 to the checkered flag, it was all bets are off here. This was who could get to the line first, and the 91 had momentum on the outside. Ritters goes with him, and at the line, that's what the margin of victory looks like for Kevin Kirchar. He takes it by about 3/4 of a truck length with a 55 of Harris. I want to show you this one more time. In fact, let's just go ahead and hop onto the onboard view here for Kevin Kirchar on this last lap. I can tell you that there was no way he thought that this is how it was going to end for him, that he thought he would have a chance just based off of where he ran right here, but he's looking for gaps. He told us that's what he would do, and he starts splitting them. Finds a couple on the bottom. They wreck out back up top. Goes below the apron, but doesn't advance position, and then Watch this right here as they get into the corner. Stay on the bottom. Sees a couple more wreck. It's a few more spots. Taylor goes up top. Says, I'll take that spot. A couple more wreck. He goes low. And I mean, that is one of the craziest last lap sequences I've ever seen for a driver. And now it's just making that decision. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Takes it up top. Harris blocks. And man, he even lifted to make sure he didn't wreck Harris right there. Or get into the back of him, rather. And still was able to get to the outside and get the momentum. That is just a textbook job and win right there for Kevin Kirchar. And Harris did everything he could. You got to show some respect, too, to James Harris for keeping it clean and respectful right there. And not trying to door him or try to overblock and wreck him. Just a really, really good way to see a race finish. You like to see that for both of those guys. And what a finish it was. So official results are in. Kevin Kirchar, your race winner, the Atlanta 135. James Harris takes home second. Then it's Toby Ritter's back in third with Jason Taylor fourth. Jason Nethery fifth. Brad Thacker sixth. Michael Hill back in seventh with Brian Toole eighth. Kevin Ward ninth. And Andrew Hale rounding out the top 10. Caleb Forsyth finishes in 12th. Caleb Forsyth 11th. Brandon Ball 12th. George Young 13th. Wesley Shell 14th. Craig Janzak, after that last lap incident, finishes in 15th. William Mann Jr. in 16th. And it's Bryce Rayner back in the 17th position here tonight. Randy Richard finishes in 18th. And it's Blake Tidwell, John Legger rounding out the top 20. Tyler Meeks finishes 21st. Wesley Carter 22nd. With Eli Childs in 23rd. And Brian High rounding out the field. He finishes in 24th. All right, we're going to go grab your race winner and your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Atlanta. All right, starting first here tonight with your race winner in the 91 machine, it's Kevin Kirchar. Kevin, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy?
Hey, Austin.
Well, we had a chance to talk to you. You said you were just going to look for any gaps that you could find, and I don't think I've ever quite seen it play out for a driver the way it did for you on the last lap. Tell us about what was going through your head as it seemed like the seas just continued to part, and then how you decided to make the move, where you were going to go, and, I mean, what a win.
That was pretty fun right there, I tell you. Hell, I don't know what happened. I don't know if I was 10th, 12th, 15th when we started, and chaos took off, and I just hooked to the bottom, and they drifted up the track, and I just never let off the gas. From the time I hit fourth gear, it was wide open until across the start-finish line. It was great. I can't believe it.
Yeah, well, it was a ton of fun to watch, and I mean, after a race that's this chaotic, how good does it feel to kind of get that first win, get that chip off your shoulder, and do you feel like this gives you some momentum going forward for the rest of the season?
Yes, I do. I really do. I was very lucky. I'd rather be lucky any day than good, but I was very lucky today, and I feel like that it was owed to me from last week, but it's been a minute since I've been in victory lane, and it feels really good, really good.
Yeah, as it should. Go celebrate. But before we let you head out, Kevin, to celebrate your first victory this season, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Man, I would like to thank Champion Power Equipment and all you guys in the booth for doing what you do. James Harris and Thacker and Craig and all these guys that show up every week and make this thing so fun. There's just a lot of competition out there, and to be able to come out here and win against these guys is really special.
Absolutely. And Kevin, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats. You are now officially a winner in the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. We will see you next week.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
All right. And now that is going to bring us to your second place finisher here tonight. Winner last week comes up just a little bit short this week, unfortunately, and that is James Harris. James, this is Austin up in the booth. Got a copy?
I do, sir.
Well, you bring home second here tonight. Man, you won last week, and it looked like you were going to go back-to-back, but just not quite enough. What more do you wish you would have done on that last lap?
Man, I first of all, I want to say sorry to Craig. I did not mean to spin him. I mean, it's plate racing. There was there's a hole there. We're on the last lap. I'm going to go. And so I took that hole. I don't know if I come up into him or if he come down to me. We talked about it after the race. But once that happened, I'm pretty much just like out there on my own. And the guys that made it through the wreck had a head of steam. And unfortunately, Kevin, my teammate, had just a little bit more steam than I did. And he was able to get that win. So I want to say congrats to Kevin.
Yeah, it was certainly a great finish for him. And even though you come close, you still do bring home a second-place finish. That's 2 weeks in a row now of a podium finish. Now, next week, we kind of end the Super Speedway stretch to a degree, but we still head to a big track in Michigan. So how do you feel about your chances to either grab another win there or stack together another good finish for points?
Man, first off, I'm excited about the points. We obviously don't have a shot at first, but after tonight's race, we're only 3 points out of second, so we can get a podium points finish. Michigan is one of my top 3 tracks. I'm really, really, really good there. Just as an example, last time we raced there last season, I got wrecked and made it from 36 to second under green before I got wrecked again. But if we don't get wrecked next week, I'm really confident we make him get another win or at least a top 3 and try to take away second in points.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, James, before we let you head out here tonight, celebrate another good finish. Is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I'm going to thank my wife, first off, for supporting me and just being there for me. And she watches all the broadcasts, and we talk about it after the race, so she supports my habit. Kevin Kirster with Blackstone Management and Grindstone Developments, Champion Power Equipment, and the guys on my truck have been with us for almost 4 years. Green Mountain Grills is the best grills you can buy.
All right, well, there you go, James. We appreciate you talking to us again. Congrats on the second-place finish. We'll see you next week at Michigan.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and now that's going to bring us up to your third-place finisher here tonight. In fact, I believe it might be the first podium of the season for the number 3 truck, and that is none other than Toby Ritters. Also goes by Clifford. Let's see if we can get him up here. Hey, Toby, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, buddy.
Well, you bring home a third-place finish here tonight. Man, is that the way that you saw that last lap going? And what was going through your head as they started wrecking in front of you?
I was just trying to stay to the bottom because normally the garbage usually goes up towards the top. But I went and I pitted with I got myself some fresh tires with only 10 to go, so I think that might have helped me a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, with the season it's been, we've seen you getting caught up in a lot of incidents, not of your causing, but just seems like you haven't really had the luck part on your side. But you get a little bit of it here tonight. You get that third-place finish. So how do you feel like this kind of swings the momentum? Do you feel like it gives you a bit of an advantage going forward?
Absolutely, yeah. I missed. I caught COVID, so I got sick, and I was kind of under the weather there for a bit. So, but I'm feeling back to myself now, and I think I'm pushing more closer to the top 5 now in points. So yeah, I'm very happy. The last 2 races I've had good finishes.
Absolutely. Well, Toby, another good finish here tonight. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys, PGR eSports, for broadcasting this. You guys are amazing broadcasters. I love to watch your replays. And I'd like to thank the dear Lord above. I'd like to thank my mom and my wife. And I'd like to thank the league, the Fast and Fun Truck Series.
And Toby, thank you for talking to us again. Congrats on the podium finish here tonight. And we'll see you next week at Michigan.
Hey, thanks a lot, boss.
All right, there you go. So that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from Atlanta. Well, it was a pretty chaotic race, but what an ending it was, and what a win. An underdog and storybook win for Kevin Kirchar after coming up just a few feet short last week. He ends up getting the job done here tonight. He takes the win. It's another great finish for James Harris and Toby Ritters, and another heartbreaking end for Craig Chanzak. Finished second just barely last week, and then unfortunately getting wrecked on the last lap here tonight. But that is part of the beast when you come to Super Speedway Racing. Next week, it's off to Michigan for the final big track of the season. Looking forward to that. As for tonight, that's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. As always, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, have a good night.